Welcome back, everybody. This is QuestionMarc,
And I'm Ame.
and we are here with part 4 of the Final Fantasy Commander deck tier list rankings. Going over today, Final Fantasy XIV.
Also known as the one that the one that neither of us know anything about.
Yeah, this is the MMO, and I've never really been into MMOs,
Same.
so
I tried a few times, but I just couldn't sustain the interest.
yeah, so we don't actually know any of these characters. We're not going to have much to say about lore. But, I mean, I'm hoping that I can still analyze these things. This is still going to be first impressions. If for a lot of these, it's going to be first time viewing them. We'll just tell you how good we think that they are.
And I'm just going to make up lore stuff about them.
Make it up, huh?
In a wrong answers only kind of way.
Okay. Also, like, an MMO is kind of a weird choice for a commander deck, considering that I would think that 90% of the characters that people interact with are player made. So I guess these are the NPCs, even though an MMO means most of the players are going to be, so it's not like you can have your character in here or anything. It's honestly a little weird to me that they found this many.
Here comes the cat.
Yeah, cat getting right up in the microphone.
If you hear a little fart, that's why.
That's definitely the cat. But in any case, this deck ends up being an Esper deck, and I'm not quite sure what the theme is yet, other than kind of control. So we'll just take a look at them and see how good they are. Starting with, it looks like it's not in alphabetical order either. So who's this cat boy? This cat boy is,
Garaha Tia, Scion Reborn.
Alright, go ahead and read the rest.
For a white, a blue, and a black, we've got a cat wizard with lifelink. And his power is throw wide the gates. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay X life, where X is that spell's mana value. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token and put X 1/1 counters on it. Do this only once each turn.
Interesting. Okay, so first off, for those of you who wanted to have a pretty anime cat boy in Magic the Gathering as your commander, you can now do that. And in fact, I believe
Whoa.
boy.
They really cranked it up for that one.
Yeah, so there are certainly some people out here that are going to be like, I don't care what the text says. Let's start building. As a lot of the men have been doing with the pretty ladies over the years, we finally have some more pretty boys to play with here. But
Well, there's never really been a shortage of pretty boys in Final Fantasy.
oh, not in Final Fantasy, no. In Magic the Gathering, I'm sure you could find some. But in any case, also cat lovers out there. Okay, so a 3-mana 2/3 with lifelink, but so casting non-creature spells allows you to pay life equal to that spell's mana value and make a hero with that many. Okay, so that means if you cast a 1-mana spell, like Swords to Plowshares, then you can pay 1 life and make a 2/2 hero because it'll be a 1/1 with 1+1+1 counter on it. Okay, so how good is that? I think that's pretty good.
It's really good if you're aiming for a go-wide deal, which it is thematically appropriate because this guy is a red mage who is trying to recruit all of the players into his MLM.
Oh, you can tell he's a red mage because his hair is red,
And the
that's just how
jacket.
it goes. Ah, okay, he's matching his jacket to his hair.
Specializes in
smart.
ice magic and is recruiting you for his multi-level marketing scheme, which he keeps calling an opportunity like an absolute weirdo. And he specializes in subpar armor. And in order to be a representative, for all official business, they prefer you to have cat ears or bunny ears, or you have to have a fluffy animal ears and tails.
Tail, gotta have a tail.
The tail isn't required, but it is highly encouraged, so it is kind of required, like to the point where it's kind of requirement. You're not making it to Firaga level without a tail.
Okay, so the do this only once each turn is definitely going to hold us back a bit here, but it does mean that every time that you cast a non-creature spell, you can choose whether or not to pay the life. If you didn't pay the life for the first spell that you cast on a turn, you can pay it for the second, so you do have some customization for which one you're making the token off of. Also, of course, having lifelink means that he will gain you some life back as you are spending it. And in these colors, you have lots of ways of gaining life, but making an army of heroes could be good. They just don't have evasion. I'm thinking about like Talrand as a comparison here.
Who?
Well, I'll show you who. Talrand, this guy is a mainstay, like staple kind of blue commander that whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you make a blue drake with flying.
Okay, so this guy is a slightly crappier version of Talrand.
Well, yes and no. Things that make Talrand better are certainly that they are always 2/2s, regardless of the kind of spell that you're casting. They always have flying. You don't have to pay life for them.
Yeah, that's quite a lot.
And you can make multiple of them in a turn. You're not restricted on that. He does cost 1 more mana and restricts you to just the color blue. Also, these drakes are always 2/2s for better or for worse. If you wanted to make a larger creature, you can't. Also, he only triggers off of instants and sorceries, whereas Graha will trigger off of mana rocks, enchantments, planeswalkers, things like that. And Talrand himself is a kind of useless body in that you're not going to be rumbling with this 2/2, but a 2/3 with lifelink that comes out a turn earlier is a little bit more relevant. You might be attacking with him, especially if you put some equipment or enchantment on him that will trigger his ability to make heroes. So it's not all downside, but I think... and Talrand is great because you can build a dedicated control deck that just happens to be making drakes all the time, so that you can actually finish a freaking game because you've been making these flying 2/2s the whole time. So you could just be swinging around for a handful of flying here and there, and you can actually finish the game while devoting almost every deck slot to just, counter spells and bounce and stuff like that. And I imagine this is going to be similar. We're going to be devoting a lot of spells to control and making some heroes that we'll rumble with, but I think it's going to be harder. So... how good is he in this ranking? I kind of want to put him in questionable.
Plus, we can't in good conscience put a Hunbot higher than that.
A Hunbot?
Yeah.
That's a term I don't know.
Oh, you don't know this term?
No, I don't know this term.
It's a term for an MLMer because they always slide into your M's going, "Hey, girl."
Okay. Also, I gotta say, I think the made up lore is maybe a little too much on some of these, but
I just did
we'll
one.
feel it out. I know, but let's move on here at this point. So Taru something, going back and finding this character that starts with a T. I don't know why they don't import in alphabetical order.
Tatarutaro.
Okay, what do they do?
Well, they're a 1 with white, a dwarf advisor, and when Tatarutaro enters, you draw a card, and target opponents may draw a card. Scion's Secretary, whenever an opponent draws a card, if it isn't that player's turn, create a tapped treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn.
Okay, did they give us flavor text? No, not even on the other version. Okay. She's cute as a button.
She's also a drummer.
Oh?
That's why her name is Tatarutaru. It's a nickname that's meant to be an onomatopoeia for her drumming abilities.
Are you kidding?
Yes.
Okay. I had no idea. I can't even tell. But dwarf, I know that this is a special race of chibi anime Final Fantasy kind of character. A lot different from what a lot of dwarfs in Magic the Gathering look like. So it's interesting that they went with dwarf instead of halfling or something like that. But dwarves could use more support, certainly in other colors. And how good is a 2-mana 0/3 that does these things? I think it's very good. In white, the ability to draw a card, it costs more, and if you have to choose one of your opponents to do it too, that's not so bad. You can also flicker it to draw cards again, and it can make you treasures when your opponents are drawing extra cards. So it's like a Smothering Tithe kind of thing, except you don't have to ask them if they want to pay the 2. You'll just quietly make a treasure and not bother them.
This is clearly a business-minded drummer.
I suppose there's some kind of advisor here. She's giving you a present, so that's kind of nice. Also, is the cat watching the mouse? Yes, the cat is 100% watching the mouse on the TV right now as I'm moving it around. Okay, how good is she? As a commander, I don't think that she's that good. She's not going to be getting in combat. She's not going to be supporting you in combat. I don't see how you kill a player.
You'd have to build a deck despite her rather than one built around her.
She seems like excellent support, but she doesn't give you much of a game plan. But I would like to put her in cool.
Cool, really? That's high.
Yeah, especially in the 99, she seems very good. She could be CEDH playable, certainly in the 99 once again, because in CEDH, a monocolor deck is kind of a death sentence. But yeah, I think she's very good. I would be tempted to put her up higher, except that she's kind of bad as a commander by herself, or not that great anyway.
Okay, I thought we were judging these primarily as commanders, though, since...
Well, look, okay.
I'm trying to keep our criteria consistent here.
Yes. So people are buying these decks, and they're going to be opening all these cards, and you can rearrange the deck as is to have, like, the Catboy as your commander or something. But otherwise, what are you doing with this? You're tearing it apart, and you're putting the pieces into other decks. In the 99, making them your commander, stuff like that. This card as your commander... probably questionable, if I were to say strictly as your commander. However, I think that she's good enough in the 99 that I want to bump her up here, because I think that I do want to include both factors.
Okay.
But good for keeping me consistent, honestly, because that is something that we haven't necessarily explained, certainly not in this video. It might run a little contrary to what I've said in the past, but honestly, a lot of these cards... being monocolor and stuff like that, they're not going to be the best commanders, and they weren't really designed to be, you know. So the next one though is this other guy who's white, starts with a T. Tancrid Waters.
Well, if we are supposed to be going by a French pronunciation, it would be Tancred Waters.
Well, I hear that these are roughly like European inspired, and so some are going to be more English, some are going to be French, some are going to be like maybe German or something else. So who knows? But what does he do?
Well, he costs 4 and a white. He's a human warrior with flash, and his deal is that when Tancred Waters enters, another target legendary permanent you control gains indestructible for as long as you control Tancred Waters.
Ooh.
Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Tancred Waters gains indestructible until end of turn.
And he's a 3/5. Okay. So, how good is this guy in the command zone? Well, having flash and an ability that can, in theory, surprise somebody with a what would be very powerful if it was a surprise, just instant speed granting a creature indestructible. I think that means that as a commander, he's not that great. 5 mana for a 3/5 isn't necessarily worth it. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, he gains indestructible is nice, but isn't really commander material at these rates. So this is another guy that I think, as a commander, I'd be tempted to put in questionable or even lame. But since we're talking about in the 99 as well, this seems like a pretty good trick in a deck where you care a lot about your commander.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad for a Royal Guard that moonlights as a vampire hunter.
Yeah, I mean, while the cost of 5 is quite a bit, I think that this could see play in control decks, where they're frequently holding up a lot of mana for counter spells, for removal, things like that. And if someone tries to remove your commander, maybe your commander is the cat boy, maybe your commander is the cat girl, You just keep mana open. In an Esper style deck, you definitely want to be doing that a lot. And then you can protect your commander now and in the future. And that's usually something that you have to choose. Either protect it now at instant speed or protect it in the future at sorcery speed. And he does both. He costs a little more, though. So I think you don't want to be playing this in every Voltron deck. You don't want to be playing this as the commander. You don't want to be playing this in, any deck that would struggle to have 5 mana open at instant speed. But your control decks, I think it's good in the 99. That said, I think I still want to put it in questionable.
Okay.
It is 5 mana. He's a little narrow in terms of where you could use him, but he'd be pretty good when you do.
Right. Just make sure that ace is in his space, because he doesn't really have the versatility to go outside it.
Yeah. And the next one we're looking at looks like... Okay, I'm going to try once. Alphanod Levure? Levure. Okay. Alright, what does he do?
Well, he costs 3 and a blue. He's an elf wizard. And a partner with Alphanod Levure.
Mm-hmm. I think they're brothers?
No, they're twins.
Well, look, that they could still be brothers if they're twins.
They're brothers, but more specifically twins.
Okay, I'll look at the other one in a bit. Yeah, how do you know that?
I don't.
You're making it up. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know anything about these characters. Everything I say about them, I am making up, unless it's on the card.
Jeez. Okay, well, what else does he do?
Vigilance and Eucrasia, which means whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card.
Oh, okay.
So you want to put him somewhere spell heavy.
I did watch a developer diary the other day on developing these commander decks. So I know a little bit about, some behind the scenes stuff. But this whole, when you cast your second spell each turn, is a really great mechanic for a lot of control decks, for a lot of blue decks. Flurry is in the latest Tarkir Dragonstorm set, which is basically the same thing. But it's nice that it doesn't restrict you to just your turn. It will work on your opponent's turns too. Having Vigilance on a blue creature is a bit unusual. And partnering with Alice means that you kind of can't judge them apart, because you can have both of them as your commander, and you can have both of them in the 99, and casting one will find you the other.
And by the way, this guy's a big Star Wars fan.
Come on! Okay, we got flavor text, though.
Oh, yeah. We alone can accomplish little, but joined by others we may yet build a bonfire to carry us heavensward. He's also really into having parties on the beach, hence the bonfires. And as for carrying us heavensward, he likes to get high and watch Star Wars.
Okay. So, anyway, as a 4-mana 2/4 Vigilance that does this, he seems like he's just a little bit below par in terms of, he might make sense more as an uncommon commander or something like that. It's really the partner that puts him much higher. So we really got to judge them together with Alice. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What kind of
dynamic duo have we got going here?
Is that a brother?
This is Final Fantasy. It's usually a little hard to tell.
Oh, yeah, real hard to tell. Okay, well, why don't you read what he does? Or they do. I don't know.
I think they're they, them. That's why I defaulted to calling them twins rather than brothers.
Okay. You know what? They probably said it in the dev diary that I watched, and I forgot. So.
And I'm just making shit up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. 2 mana and a white for an elf wizard. Partner with Alphanod Levure. First strike. Dual cast. The second spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast.
Oh my. Okay. This one seems great.
No matter what happens, we have to survive. Together.
Yeah. So is this character like a white mage or something? Because they got a staff that looks like kind of white mage stuff. But then they're having first strike and they have high power and they make your spells cost less, so they're not
red
healing
mage
or gaining life or anything. They are wearing red.
They used to be a white mage, but then they decided that they liked casting offensive magic too much, So they switched to red mage.
Sure. So I think this card's really good, actually. Just the combat stats alone make this creature a great one to get out on turn 3. You probably can't get it out on turn 2 unless you get your Soul Ring, the classic Soul Ring opening. But I love that this one costs 3 and the other one costs 4. So you do this one and then the other one and then the other, right back to back. So I think they work excellent together. And of course, making the spell cost less and then drawing you a card off of it, excellent. So I would rank them. Where's the?
On the right.
Oh, there. Okay. I'm putting that one in exciting, and I'm gonna put this one in cool.
Be careful about that. The I'll say is also a fan of Star Wars, but they like the sequel trilogy best. So
The sequel trilogy.
oh yeah.
Okay, the big Ray defenders, huh?
Oh no, just I'll say Alphanod.
Oh.
Not so much.
Okay. Honestly, as a combination, they're probably exciting. I do think that this one's more exciting than this one, though, because this one's going to be relevant in combat. That one, not so much. This one, making your spells cheaper, can open up like a whole new world of casting things on your opponent's turns. This one, drawing you cards, is great. Honestly, this is like an A and a B plus, kind of.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. So, next, though, we have, I think this is Hermes, which, we're all, of course, going to be more familiar with Hermes, famously from Futurama, the Jamaican guy who's really good at the limbo.
Of course, his name could also be Hermes.
Frick, it could be. All right, what does he do?
Well, he's a 3 into blue. Elder Wizard, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying and vigilance. And whenever you attack with one or more birds, scry 2.
There is a surprising amount of like bird kindred synergies in this set. Like, not this deck in particular, but there's a lot of Chocobo stuff that goes all throughout the Final Fantasy franchise, of course.
And the Chocobos are kind of a big deal, and they're birds, so I would love to see a bird kindred Final Fantasy deck here.
I mean, honestly, it's set up pretty well. I think the character's name is just Choco.
Yeah.
This is the one that gets you all 3 of the colors that the birds seem to be coming in. Because traditionally, birds are in white and blue, but a lot of the Chocobos are green. Maybe in part because they usually don't fly, maybe because in part some of them live... What?
The black ones fly.
Okay, well, they usually don't fly... and maybe because you find some of them in a jungle or something. I don't know, they're good runners. But so that means that this set in particular has built up green birds enough that this commander seems good. Real good. So yeah, you can absolutely build the kind of deck that you're talking about, and Hermes probably goes in the 99. Also, Overseer of El Pis. Is that Spanish for the piss? I think it is.
But is it Elpis or LP?
Who knows? Okay, so for real though, 4 mana, 2/4 combat stats are pathetic.
He has an interesting ritual cutscene where he sticks some discarded feathers up his nose.
Oh my god. Okay, I don't know about this riffing here.
And he's definitely a white mage.
Despite being blue. Okay, so you cast a non-creature spell and you create a bird token with flying and vigilance?
Sign me up.
And then when you attack with one or more birds, you scry 2. Honestly, this seems really good. Is it enough to make up for the lackluster combat stats? Honestly, kind of, yeah. It's reminding me...
He's got a decent back on him.
Yeah, it's reminding me similarly of Talrand. Same mana cost, same power, more toughness. It triggers off of more spells, so your mana rocks and things. The creatures are smaller, but they have vigilance, and they'll scry you fairly often. So, honestly, I'm debating between cool and exciting.
I'm putting him in exciting, personally.
I don't know if I want to put him up that high just because I think that 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have him as the commander. if you're playing birds, you want the commander that is probably a bird, and you probably want more than just mono blue. But he seems really good in the 99, and you could probably make a good bird deck that's mono blue. Just why would you when you could make it blue white or blue white green or something? So personally, I'm going to put him in cool, but he's good.
But really cool.
Yeah. Okay, then we have, oh boy. Okay, this one's not French. I believe this one's Nordic. Good luck.
Hraesvelgr of the First Blood. You're welcome.
That's right.
All right, that's 4 mana and a blue for an Elder Dragon.
Ooh.
Sidebar, where's his face?
He's right there.
Oh, okay, but then what? Then is he like a hammerhead? What is going on?
No, he's got
they're
horns
wings
coming out there, and then he's got wings going whoosh.
Okay, I thought the
there.
wings were his body.
No, his body is this way.
I thought the wings were his body, so I thought he was like a
why.
hammerhead shark, and his head was on one end, and what's on the other? Yeah.
Okay, there. That's his face. Okay, so what else has he got?
Flying Vigilance, Ward 2, and Shiva's Aid. When Hraesvelgr enters, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, target creature gets 1/0 until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn. Never shall our grief be assuaged, nor our loss forgotten.
Assuaged. Love that word. Okay, so how good is this as a card in the 99? How good is this as a commander? It seems to me very good. I mean, first off, we just start with a vanilla test. 5 mana, 5/5. Got it. Then tack onto that Flying, Vigilance, and Ward 2. Look, who doesn't love...
That's going to be a tough thing, and being able to cast it to bring it to the field more than once is going to be quite valuable.
That means, like most dragons, you have evasion, so you're going to be able to hit people. You have 5 power, that's a lot. You have vigilance, so you can attack with it and block with it. And you've got Ward 2 to protect it from most spells. People have to go really out of their way to kill this thing with any spell or ability. And then, on top of that, when he enters and when you cast a non-creature spell, you buff a creature and make it unblockable. Honestly, this seems exciting to me. I mean, okay, the only things that are holding it back are a dragon deck. People play lots of dragon decks, but most dragons are red. So the thing is that this is a dragon that you maybe don't play as a dragon deck, you know?
And also the monocoloring.
Exactly. Mono blue. I mean, you're going to find a few other dragons in these colors, in this color, but not that many, and not that many good ones that have synergies and stuff. By the way, Elder. In Magic usually means that this is a creature who is, like, dating back to prehistory.
Well, he is Hraesvelgr of the First Brood, although, fun fact, he was the runt of that litter.
Oh.
He's kind of sore about it.
Mm-hmm. But the First Brood was a very long time ago. Nobody remembers how long ago.
But he remembers.
Of course he does, but he's not telling. He's a blue character. He's got secrets. So, now, keeping in mind that you are not playing this as a dragon deck, despite it being a dragon commander, which is somewhat rare, and you're not doing red, how do you take best advantage of this? Well, every turn he can make one creature unblockable. So, I think that what you do is you put in some real bombs alongside him that you would really like to make unblockable. And you don't have to put in that many, and then otherwise you're doing a mono-blue control deck, pretty much. But unlike some control decks, you have a way to end the freaking game, which is super important.
And it also rhymes with how he lays exploding eggs. At least I think they're eggs. We're not really sure.
Okay, so 5 power flying makes other creatures get more power, and being unblockable means that you can play a control deck and you can still end the damn game. Because in Commander, playing a control deck is okay as long as you don't make the game take 2, 3, 4 hours because you can only win by a certain combo or by drawing, this one thing that might do good, So, as it stands, I'm torn between, is this guy cool or is this guy excellent? Is this guy exciting? I think he's exciting because he's a dragon that you'll build a non-dragon deck out of. He's got all the tools built in on himself: high power, high toughness, high defense, vigilance, evasion, all those things, and something to build around that will encourage you to not only do the control deck, but do the control deck that actually wins eventually. So I think that's exciting. So then we're on to this black character down here. It's our fan, Daniel.
Fan Daniel. Telephoroi Asian.
Askian?
Askian?
Get in the comments.
Asian?
I don't think he's
Asian?
I don't know.
I know he was in a boy band, but then turned to the dark side when his fame started to flag. Poor guy, he didn't really have much of an after plan.
Oh my god. Okay, what does he do?
He costs 4 and a black, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, surveil 1. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent may sacrifice a non-token creature of their choice. Each opponent who doesn't loses 2 life for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. I cast a lot of sorceries and instants, and I'm going to make it your problem.
Oh my god. Okay, and once again, we're dealing with an elder here, so... I mean, once again, people who play Final Fantasy XIV, let us know more about the lore. Is he absolutely ancient, like from time before time? Because that's usually what this implies. It also usually...
he just acts like it.
Oh, okay. It also usually implies that they are of a race of elder people, you know, the ancient race or whatever, you know. But... 5 mana 4/5 is close to on par just for combat stats, but the main thing is that he can stand his own in combat a lot. But when you cast an instant or sorcery spell, surveil 1. That will help you fill up the graveyard even faster than just casting instants and sorceries. And then each opponent has to sack a non-token creature. So mean.
Yeah.
So mean to not even allow them to sack token creatures. Your squirrel decks, your goblin decks, oh, they're boned. But instead of sacrificing a creature, they can just lose 2 life for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard.
This is mean.
Jesus.
I like it.
How many instants and sorceries are you going to have in your graveyard? I mean, by turn 5, you're going to have a few. And then every turn after that, you're going to be casting them and surveilling more. This guy seems... really good.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he goes into exciting.
I think he might as well. This has got to be a villain, though, right? There's no way this is a good guy.
I would be very surprised if this was anything but a bad guy.
Honestly, the villains in these commander decks are some of the best commanders.
Looking at you, Kefka.
Oh, yeah. And sure, they cost a little more mana, so they're going to be a little slower, but, you know, your average...
That's your final bosses for you. You're going on their schedule.
Exactly. Your average supervillain is going to start off on par with your heroes and then still be a threat late in the game. Their plan is never, like, running out of ideas in Chapter 1.
Yeah.
You know? So, this guy only gets stronger over time. And, of course, if you're playing mono black, you could use instant and sorcery spells to reanimate him, so you don't have to pay his, commander tax. Yeah, so not having ward or, I don't know, menace or anything like that built in, he could be pushed a little bit more, but honestly, I think he's pretty great.
Yeah.
Okay, then we get to, the face commander of the deck, who I believe I've been told her name is Ishola, Knight's Blessed.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, what does she do?
Well, for 1 mana, a white, a blue, and a black, you've got Vigilance, and at the beginning of each end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, you draw a card.
Oh.
And whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, Ishola deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life.
Okay, so, once again, just as a starting point, if we use the vanilla test, 4 mana, 2/4, bad. Vigilance, getting a little closer. So these abilities have got to be good. And they are. First off, at the beginning of each end step, blah blah blah, draw a card. So if you do this, then you'll draw an extra card on every turn. So 4 cards drawn by the time that it comes back around to you. You just got to make someone lose 4 or more life. Now, of course, naturally you'd want to make your opponents lose life because you're trying to kill them. She doesn't do it by herself. But, so you're going to put her in a deck with a bunch of, I don't know, flyers, or with a bunch of spells that make people lose life regularly, things like that. But also, the player can be you. You're playing a black deck.
It's an option.
There are a million different ways of paying some life to get some effect. And also, you're playing white. So one important rules thing about this is that it doesn't mean that you have to have 4 less life at the end of your turn. It means that you have to have lost 4 or more life at some point. So if you lose 4 life and then gain it back again, it counts.
It doesn't have to be a net loss.
Exactly. Oh my.
Wow,
Did
someone
I
really...
not click on it?
No.
There.
Someone really hit her with the anime ray there.
Boy. Okay. And she has more text. So when you cast a non-creature spell with mana value of 3 or greater, she deals 2 damage to each opponent and you gain 2 life. Okay, so she actually can set up her other ability here. If you hit somebody and cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, then that does add up. Or you could cast 2 non-creature spells with mana value 3 or greater.
Yeah, you've got to cast at least 2 things with mana value 3 or greater, and she can then she can pull it herself.
Mm-hmm.
So get your ramp going.
Because a 2/4 with Vigilance is going to struggle to hit people in the late game, of course. You've got colors that you can use to give her flying or menace or heck, even unblockable, but you're probably better off doing something more constructive with her than combat.
She works better as support rather than as the leader of the charge.
Yeah, she's going to be, standing in the back and flinging spells and
giving everybody
directing
buffs.
Her army. Yeah.
And that's fine. That can work for a commander.
Mm-hmm.
I've got at least one deck that works like that.
And I think that one thing that will help you cast more big spells, of course, is ramp. So how about mana rocks? The 3 mana rocks that are usually neglected.
Ah,
this is the perfect
there's
deck
something there.
to jam full of 3 mana rocks, honestly. Or if you can find some spells that are non-creature spells where they have cost reduction on them, so you don't have to pay the full cost, keep an eye out for those things. But I love this card. I am very excited, and not just from the art.
She's a fun character, too. She's Fan Daniel's ex-girlfriend, and she... At the beginning of the stories, she's starting as the public face for Graha's MLM, but by the end, she's fully denounced it and she kicks his ass for it.
Okay, so,
I'm having fun. Leave me alone.
Oh, but the thing is, though, is that we're trying to present some data here. I don't know. I'm worried that it interferes with the point of what we're trying to do a bit. I'm sorry. But either way, I think she belongs up here, and I love a commander that tells you, try to do this slightly unusual thing, and I'll reward you. Those are my favorite kind of commanders. So then we go on to this hulking guy who's made of shoulders primarily. Ardbert, Warrior of Darkness?
Huh, he doesn't look like a Warrior of Darkness.
He
Funny,
looks like a warrior of, like, trailer trash that they put armor on. I don't know, like, he looks like a bully.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He looks like he's got a chip on his shoulder, but why don't you tell us what he does?
Well, for 1, a white and a black, we've got a legendary Spirit Warrior.
Spirit Warrior, you say?
And whenever you cast a white spell, put a 1/1 counter on each legendary creature you control. They gain Vigilance until end of turn. Ooh, I like that. And whenever you cast a black spell, you put a 1/1 counter on each legendary creature you control, and they gain Menace until end of turn. Oh, I love this.
Wow.
Always we took the burden of fighting upon ourselves. That's what heroes do, isn't it?
Sounds like he's bitter about it, but, like, dude, heroes, you you choose to be a hero. You know, that's a volunteer job usually. You either, you know, are acting heroic because you want to, or you're not acting heroic because you think of it like a job or like it's something that you have to do. You know, like yeah, well, he's dead, so whatever. He died. But as a magic card, he seems really good. I love that you have two colors, and that it encourages you to play both colors of spells whenever possible. So, most decks are kind of white and black. You know, they're multiple colors, and you play a lot of white spells and you play a lot of black spells. But this is going to encourage you to, as much as possible, play spells that are both at the same time.
Oh, yes. I would love to have this guy in my Cecil deck.
Oh, good point, good point.
Because I love Cecil. And
Oh,
that
yeah.
isn't made up.
Yeah. In fact, I'll bring up Cecil real quick here. Oh, I don't know if you saw that one.
I did. You sent it to me.
Okay.
But I like this one better.
Okay. Yeah, so Cecil here is a human knight for only one. And it's a 2/3. Actually, we're not going to get into the analysis for this guy because we're going to make a video about the main set commanders. And there's a lot of them, and he's one of them.
Final Fantasy IV is my favorite, and I love Cecil.
And he's black on the front and white on the back.
Flash! Ah!
But that does mean that he could go in an Ardbert deck.
Or vice versa.
Ardbert could go in a Cecil deck. I think that this guy is going to be at his best as a commander, and where almost every spell in your deck, as many as possible anyway, are both black and white, and as many of them as possible are creatures, so that they're all buffing each other. Having Vigilance and Menace is great. +1/+1 counters permanent buffs. In fact, does he count himself on each legendary? Oh, right. Okay, that's critical.
Oh, yeah, that is critical.
That's critical. Okay, so you definitely want to be playing... This is a Legends Matters deck?
Legends Matters.
Okay,
Legends matter.
All right, I gotta know then. I'm trying to not do too many searches during our discussion necessarily, but this one I feel like I kind of have to do. So this is legendary creatures that are exactly black and white, and maybe
how many
we'll
results do we
sort
get?
them by how they're ranked in Commander, basically. How many results? Oh!
82.
Oh, there's 82. Okay. So good. You can't play 82 cards like this in your deck, but you can play 25.
It does give you plenty to choose from.
Exactly. Cut this to the top, like, quarter, and you've got, I think, the solid foundation of a good deck. And it's going to do all kinds of crazy things while consistently making them get bigger and have vigilance or menace. So honestly, this guy is exciting. As much as he looked like kind of a loser, like kind of a jerk at first glance, I think he's going to be an excellent commander and pretty good in the 99.
Not bad for a guy who has cake decorating for a hobby.
God. Like the guy in The Hunger Games?
I've never seen nor read The Hunger Games, and I have no intention to.
Oh, okay. One of the kind of boy toy best friend kind of character of Katniss Everdeen was a cake decorator, and then he like disguises himself real good. Anyway, next on our list is, why are these cards so expensive? $47 for this one?
Emmett Selk of the Third Seat.
Uh-huh.
For 2 mana, a blue and a black, you get an Elder Wizard. Spells you cast from your graveyard cost 2 less.
Oh!
Whenever one or more opponents loses life, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Do this only once each turn. So, yeah, you're getting a cheap and or possibly free instant or sorcery.
These abilities seem really good. I mean, anytime that you make your spells cost less, that's great. 2 less is huge. And casting from your graveyard, I love that he has a way of doing that on his own, but there are lots of cards already, from Flashback to Jumpstart to Escape, that can be cast from your graveyard that are good, and then he just gives a similar ability to all the rest.
Yep, he's a very good necromancer and a very bad clarinet player.
Oh my god. So, honestly, okay, and do this only once each turn. So you can do it on your opponent's turns as well if they lose even one life. Even one life.
That's all it's gonna take.
You're gonna put a lot of things in this deck, I imagine, that make your opponents lose one life whenever you feel like it.
Oh,
in fact,
yeah.
Is this a place where people might play Tim? Good
Tim?
old... Yeah.
Who's Tim?
Let me see. Tim the Enchanter, I think is the... There he is.
Oh my god, Tim the Enchanter. I forgot.
Yep.
Yep, Tim the Enchanter deals 1 damage to any target.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
So,
this synergizes well with Tim.
People have been calling Prodigal Sorcerer Tim for decades, and then last year they finally did it. The Mad Lads, they did it. They made a secret lair for...
Prodigal Sorcerer, and it's Tim the Enchanter.
Well, they made a secret lair for
Monty Python's Holy Grail.
Yeah, and no one could afford it, and they didn't produce it in high enough numbers, and it was sold out by scalpers within seconds, and it's really upsetting, and a lot of secret lairs are more or less still like that today.
Its price seems to have gone down considerably, though.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully it's well, this card was never expensive in any version, so that might be why that one's only $560, whereas some of the other cards are much more expensive. But regardless, in a deck with Emmet Selk, you finally have a reason to maybe even play Prodigal Sorcerer, aka Tim, because you can just bop somebody for 1 on someone else's turn, and now you can cast a really cheap instant or sorcery on their turn.
You got a paper cut, and now I'm gonna make your life Hades because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Hold my clarinet.
It only takes 1 drop of blood for me to cast a spell from my graveyard for cheap. So, honestly, this commander seems excellent.
Yeah.
He is exciting. And next we have a character that I cannot read from that far away, but it's this one. Okay, let me try this one. Estinian Varlano.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Have you heard that I hate French?
Yes.
But it's not for lack of trying. I've tried, okay? Anyway, what does he do?
Well, for two, a white and a black, you'll get an elf warrior, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on Estinian. It gains flying until end of turn.
Oh, so he's another dragoon. He's got wings on his spear. That makes sense.
That's not a spear, that's a lance.
Okay, he's got wings on his lance. A lance is a kind of spear, right?
Actually, yeah, you're right, but
Okay.
normally dragoons are equipped with spears and lances, so...
Okay.
Yeah, that's one way to tell for Final Fantasy.
Okay.
At the beginning of your second main phase, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of your opponents who are dealt combat damage by Estinian Varlano or a dragon this turn. Okay, so we are...
a dragon.
There you go, he's a dragoon.
Okay.
We're going Dragon Wild over here.
So, most dragons are red, as anyone who's played Commander, anyone who's played Magic in the last 30 years knows. So, this guy cares about dragons and is not red. The second most common color for dragons might be green, just because people ramp into them, because they cost a lot of mana. But we're losing that. And then we even saw a blue dragon a minute ago, and we're not doing that. So, he's a guy who would encourage you to build a black-white dragon deck.
How many... Can we do a search for a minute to see how many black and white dragons we have?
Let's see. Okay.
Not black... Maybe black-white, but black and white.
Or black or white.
Yeah.
So, how many dragons can you put in his deck? I'm going to make a guess that it's 100.
That would still be a pretty good variety, though.
Oh, yeah, it would. The answer?
58.
Okay, that's still
There's
plenty.
options. There are things you can work with here.
Mm-hmm. And of course, there are also going to be some changelings out there. There's going to be some, you can play the what is it, the Maskwood Nexus that makes things into dragons. You might have some things that make dragon tokens, stuff like that. So
Get
there's
your
a few other
changelings in
ways.
order.
Exactly, I said changelings.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, at the beginning, oh god, the cat wants something.
So he's
But
going Mao.
yeah,
You might be able to hear him go Mao.
hopefully that'll get taken care of soon enough. But okay, so when you cast a non-creature spell, you put a counter on him and he gains flying. Honestly, that ability by itself would be pretty great even for a commander. But then also, yeah, your second main phase, you draw and lose life. But like you're playing black-white, you're going to be paying life to draw cards. That's fine. You got plenty of ways of gaining that life back, no problem. And yeah, you'll draw cards equal to the number of opponents who were dealt combat damage by him or a dragon this turn. This guy seems really good, and it'll be fun to put together some black and white dragons in a deck with him as the commander.
He's also colorblind and lactose intolerant.
Wow. He also seems just like generally intolerant. Like I hesitate to say that he's maybe not the hero type. Seems like
He's more of a wild card type who starts out saying some kind of bigoted things to dwarves and
oh yeah
not elves, but
yeah, elves do tend to be kind of snooty about dwarves
haughty
and stuff. Yes,
and dragoons are known for having their noses in the air, both
highfalutin,
both figuratively and literally. He gets better, but it takes him a while.
Okay, so yeah, honestly, exciting. And oh wait, who's next on our list? It is, oh god, this guy, the poser. I say because he does poses. He's Hildebrand Manderville.
The himbo.
Yep, want to read what he does?
Yep, for 1 and a white, creature tokens you control get 1/1, and when Hildebrand Manderville dies, you may cast it from your graveyard as an adventure until the end of your next turn. Or you could just skip that step, pay 2 and a black, and create a 2/2 black zombie creature token.
And by the way, the zombie token is doing the same pose. Apparently, that's just the Hildebrand Manderville pose, is this thing.
He's actually a transformed cactar, that's why he poses like that.
And this cat girl is like throwing a coconut at him or something?
Yeah, she heard that
Okay.
he likes coconuts, and now she just won't stop throwing them at him.
Okay, oh, and he's got a rose on his lapel. Okay, so, honestly...
She's a big fan.
Honestly, a 2-mana 2/2 is like, a good starting point, but then it also has an adventure. So adventures mean that, yes, you can cast this guy at instant speed to make a zombie. A 3-mana instant speed zombie is decent. There's uses for that. And then you exile him and he's on an adventure, and you can later cast this side whenever you feel like it. It's face up, so it's not a surprise, but
If
when
nothing
you
else,
do,
it's a threat.
when you do, if the zombie token's still around, it gives the zombie token +2/+2, so it's a 3/3. And then when he dies, you can cast him again on this side. So it's one of those weird commanders where you actually might not want to put it back in the command zone sometimes so that you can do Gentleman's Rise. So this guy just won't stay dead. But then, okay, creature tokens you control get +1/+1. That seems like the real build-around thing here. If you're building Hildebrand Manderville, you are building a white-black creature token deck that happens to be making a zombie with a commander who's really resilient. But the rest of your tokens don't have to be zombies. Maybe they are, because the commander makes one, and you could have some good synergies with that. But it could be any kind of creature tokens. They could be gremlins. They could be gnomes. I don't care.
I wonder if there are cactar tokens.
I haven't seen any, but all the cactars that I've seen so far have been green. So it wouldn't go in here. But you could play spirits, you could play clerics, you could play any number of things like that. Golems. Lots of colorless creature tokens. So while personally I think I could use a little bit more direction than just tokens broadly, like picking a little bit more of a lane would be neat, but he seems really good at it.
Oh, that's interesting. He's a human detective.
Human detective?
Oh yeah, he's trying to figure out who turned him into a cactar, and more importantly, why. I mean, who changed him from a cactar to a human. Like,
Oh, I figured maybe
why
he's
would you
trying to
do
solve
that?
his own murder. Who killed me? I don't know.
Who turned me into a human? I was a very handsome cactar.
Well, all that said, I think he's probably good in the 99 of certain decks, but he's actually probably better as a commander. And I'm torn between cool or exciting. We've got a lot in the exciting so far. I think I'm going to measure it a little bit and say that he's just cool.
At the top of cool, though.
Yes. I mean, and he definitely thinks he's cool. So, next we've got, what is that, Kylie? No. Creel?
Yep. Creel Baldessian. Baldesian.
Baldessian?
Baldessian.
I don't know.
Where do you put the emphasis?
I don't know! Alright, what do they do?
Well, for a white and a blue, you get Lifelink and Trace Ether. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may return target creature card with mana value equal to that spell's mana value from your graveyard to your hand. Do this only once each turn.
Huh. So you cast non-creature spells, you return creature spells, and it has to be exactly the same mana value back to your hand. So the weird thing is
She's
that
into recycling.
the weird thing is that you probably want to, like, the optimal version of this deck might be pick a number, and then just do that number a lot. And the first number that comes to mind that would probably be good would be 2. Just pick the number 2 and have every creature spell and every non-creature spell in your deck cost 2. And then the creatures can be ones that maybe self-sacrifice, or that have high power, low toughness, or maybe you have other sacrifice outlets, so they just keep dying, and then you cast your mana rocks, your control spells, like bounce spells, counter spells, and you keep bringing them back. And that would seem like the optimal way to do this to me. And that seems pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
She's a dwarf wizard. She doesn't have any evasion built in, only 1 toughness herself, but thing is, I'm not sure quite how this wins the game. This seems like a commander that would encourage you to do a lot of dirtling. Like, nothing's gone forever, I keep doing control things.
Dirtling?
Yeah, you haven't heard that term?
No, that's a new one.
Oh, dirtling. Making a lot of actions, but not necessarily gaining a lot of ground. So sometimes people consider it to be like wasting their time.
Ah.
And the more actions that you're taking, a lot of times players will struggle to figure out what order to do them in, or how to use the stack properly, and they'll mess them up sometimes, and you do them over. So
This is actually a clever allusion to her backstory where she failed out of wizard school the first time she tried it because she caught mono. You can go on a side quest to help her graduate for real this time.
So all that said, I think that she is actually cool. You just gotta make sure that a lot of the cards in the deck actually are somehow gonna win it. Like flyers or, I don't know,
Know
stuff like
your
that.
closers, because she's not gonna be it.
Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind from the get-go, that the most important thing is figuring out how to win. Everything else is going to fall into place, especially if you pick a mana value like 2, or maybe 3. 3 would almost be almost as good. But you can definitely keep recasting spells for 2 mana pretty easily. But then we've got, let's see, this blue and white character. Hard to read the name again. Lice Hext? Lise Hext?
Lysae?
Lisa?
Lisa Hext.
All right. What does she do?
Women.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Anyway, for 1, a white, and a blue, you get a human rebel monk with prowess. I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, I just took the reminder text off, unfortunately, but right there.
Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets 1/1 until end of turn. And as non-creature spells you cast one... Non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And as long as you've cast 2 or more non-creature spells this turn, Lisa Hext has double strike.
Oh my god. Okay, you remember a minute ago when I said fill your deck with 2 mana spells to synergize with that other commander?
Yeah?
Never mind. Fill this deck with 2 mana spells to synergize with this commander. Because prowess means the more spells, the better. right?
Oh, yeah.
And she makes your spells cost 1 less, so that means that the least that you can pay for your non-creature spells generally is 1, but now add that up to 2. So fill your deck with 2 mana spells, you're casting them for half cost. You want as many of them as possible to, say, draw a card on them while doing something else, and then you're frequently going to be giving her double strike and buffing her with the prowess triggers. This seems... You know what? I've been wanting to build a combat trick deck for a long time.
Well, sounds like she's going into it then.
Possibly. And you could play some white and blue spells that pump her power, but every one of them is going to pump her power whether you want it to or not. Oh my god, this works on artifacts. Non-creature spells, yeah, as long as it's not a creature, this works on artifacts, meaning Sensei's Divining Top, Soul Ring, Skull Clamp. These things cost 0 mana now. This commander seems incredible.
Yep.
And, just like I was saying before, with a deck that has those kinds of synergies, it can lead to you doing a lot of dirtling, except, you want to then find a way of killing a player or two. And the way of doing it, prowess plus double strike. Bam! She's going to get big and hit him twice.
Just like how she jazzercised a mountain down once.
Apparently, she just dances. She just dances so much. Oh, she's a monk, though. Okay. Yeah, she seems incredible. So, that said, we're down to the last couple. This one is a little dwarf person again, I think? Okay. I was trying to do this one the other day. Let me see if I can do it now. Papalamo Totolamo.
Yeah.
And he's got, like, Nicol Bolas horns on his staff, it almost looks like. But, alright.
Well, he is a Magic the Gathering fan, so it's appropriate that he's here.
Of course. Canonically a Magic the Gathering fan. Alright, what does he do, though?
Well, for a white and a black, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Papalamo Totolamo deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. For 4 and a tap, you can sacrifice him, and each opponent who lost life this turn sacrifices a creature with the greatest power amongst creatures they control.
Wow, okay. Why does this deck have so many good commanders in the 99? The other decks didn't have near as many that were good commanders. But, like, you cast a non-creature spell and you hit everybody, you drain everybody for 1, that's a great effect. To be on a 2-mana creature, and then you get 1 extra toughness just to be a little bit on the safe side, that's going to be awesome. Once again, especially when you're just casting, like, mana rocks that will fuel you casting more non-creature spells. And then you have this, like, big boom thing that he can do, where he's going to make everybody sacrifice creatures, because, of course, a black-white deck, with a dinky little commander like this, it'd be great if he can just, like, murder 3 people, the most important 3 people, and then he's only going to cost 4 to cast again, and you're playing black and white, the resurrection colors. You could easily cast a spell to resurrect him instead of paying 4.
Tax evasion!
Yeah! And it synergizes with his ability to bop everybody for 1. Heck, there's a million ways that you could give him lifelink, so that instead of gaining 1 life, you gain 4? This guy seems so good. What are they doing to me? I can't help it. I even wanted to put this guy up a little higher, but, like, I could deny him considering that, like, he doesn't narrow you down to any specific kind of creature type, and, he's just okay on his own. But these have so many things that you can use to build around. They've got such potential. Okay, but then we have 1 left. Who's this? This is...
Oh, hello, gorgeous.
Oh, yeah? Okay, he's also clearly... Wait, is he a Yu-Gi-Oh player, though?
No, he's into tarot cards.
Oh, it's tarot.
You can tell because the size cards that he's using,
they're a little bigger.
Yeah, those are the tarot card proportions.
And he clearly doesn't have, like, 40 or 60 of them or anything. He's got, like, a dozen or 2 dozen, so... Okay. Well,
and look at his abilities.
Okay, actually, hold on. Can we pronounce his name? Urianger Augerelt?
Urianger Augerelt.
Something like that. Alright, what does he do, though?
Well, for a white and a blue, whenever you play a land card from exile or cast a spell from exile, you gain 2 life.
Okay.
And his abilities are Draw Arcanum. See, I told you it was tarot.
Oh.
For a tap, you can look at the top card of your library and you can exile it face down.
Oh, okay.
And to play Arcanum, you tap, and until end of turn, you may play cards exiled with Urianger Augerelt. Spells you cast this way cost 2 less.
Oh, okay.
So he's kind of setting up and playing his own game here.
Okay, so he builds his own library of cards. Because you tap him, you look at the top, you may exile it. Okay, your opponents don't get to know what cards you set aside. Whenever you play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, you gain 2 life. Nice. Give you a little bonus every one that you do. Cool. But you have to, it looks like you usually have to go tap to put a card in the exile, and then later tap to cast a spell from the exile. But it costs 2 less, and it'll gain you 2 life.
This guy is all about delayed gratification.
Although, you could fill the deck with a lot of tap and untap synergies, like 1,000-Year Elixir. One of my favorites. Want to read that for us, actually?
Let's see. For 3 mana, you may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. And for 1 mana and a tap, you can untap someone.
Yeah. That seems like exactly the kind of thing you want to be doing with Urianger. Or Urianger. Boy, who knows? Whatever he is.
Whatever he is, he's hot.
Yeah, alright. And, okay, the benefit from this. You'll gain life, you'll be casting your spells for cheap. For 2 mana less. So once again, the optimal thing I would think would be to fill your deck with 3 mana spells. Hey, look at that. 1,000-Year Elixir is 3 mana. What about Freed from the Real? Oh, do you think this one might be good?
Let's see. 2 into blue for enchant creature. One blue to tap enchanted creature. And what? Oh, yeah, get this in your deck immediately.
Yeah, and if you happen to have exiled it as you drew it into Arcanum, you can then cast it for just 1 blue, and then you can untap them and exile another thing, and then tap. So you absolutely want to be playing things like Freed from the Real, and just for one more that people might not know about, or maybe you do. You do a little research, you're probably going to find Pemin's Aura, which I think they haven't reprinted in, like, ever? Oh yeah, they haven't reprinted this one in ever. This one has a lot of text on it, but the important thing, of course, is just this bit.
Untap enchanted creature.
For a blue. And sure, it costs double blue and a colorless instead of 2 and a colorless, but you can also gain flying, you can gain shroud, you can buff the power at the expense of toughness, or the other way around. So this thing has so many different abilities on it.
Dang, why haven't they reprinted this?
Well, one reason why might be because secretly the name is actually an anagram. And I'll give you a hint. Have you ever seen The Iron Giant?
Yes, but it's been literally decades.
Okay, what's the Iron Giant's, like, catchphrase?
Superman?
Yes. This name is an anagram of I am Superman. Which, if we're going... This is the last card, so... we're going down a little bit of a rabbit hole here. Morphling was called Superman at the time.
Oh!
And look at those abilities. Where have we seen those before?
Oh, yeah. Oh. The pieces are coming together.
So at the time that this guy was originally printed back in 1998, this creature was seen as the most powerful creature in Magic's history.
Woo!
He could do anything with a little bit of untapped mana. Whether he's, untapping to block, gaining flying to hit people, gaining shroud, so he shrugs off most removal, getting big or getting smaller. And at the time, you could also put damage on the stack, meaning that you could get blocked or block a creature. You could then buff up his power to, 5 to assign 5 damage, and then buff up his toughness to, 6 and survive up to 5 damage himself.
And his artwork is really cool.
Oh yeah, classic RK Post artwork here. Let's see, looks like they got a little crisper version of it here. But this is what, Vintage Masters? I believe this was a Magic Online only set. But either way, RK Post is one of the great classic Magic artists, and this is part of a trend of shapeshifters that are like two people looking at each other.
A pretty easy trope for that sort of thing. But I'm just really digging how this guy looks like. I mean, if you told me that this guy was the Queen of Hearts Royal Guard, I would believe you.
Yeah, I believe this is the original shapeshifter that has two identical people looking at each other. Going way, way back to Alpha,
Woo!
the OG. So yeah. Anyway, that's a couple of steps removed now. That's the old ADHD brain.
All right,
here.
time to get back to the surface.
But Pemin's aura is excellent on Urianger Augerelt. God, I'm not confident at all with that pronunciation. How good is he? I think that more than any creature that I've seen recently, this guy will make you feel like you are a control player. This guy will make you feel like, you know, I'm the king of cards or something like that.
If I ever make a tarot-themed deck, I want him as the commander.
Ah, okay.
I like tarot decks. They're pretty.
Yeah, we can talk about that sometime. But on his own, he seems like kind of slow in that you play him on one turn, and then you have to tap him on the next turn, and then you have to tap on the next turn before he does literally anything.
So your focus is going to want to be on getting him untapped.
He has, and actually look for a few things that give him haste. From Swiftfoot Boots for sure. Lightning Greaves is a little questionable because of that Shroud. You might not be able to put something else on him to untap him more times. So hesitate on that. But Lava Spur Boots. Don't forget about Lava Spur Boots. That gives haste. You can play those in a blue-white deck. The 1,000-Year Elixir is going to be big, as I said, and lots of ways of untapping him. That will allow you to build up this extra hand of spells that cost less than your main hand and that gain you life. And you can become the ultimate control player where people just can't mess with you because you have your normal hand and you have your bonus hand. And when you cast from the bonus hand, you're gaining life and they're cheaper. They can't even mess with that hand, really. Not to mention, okay, actually, here's the real question. If you exile a card with him and then he dies and he comes back, can you play a card that was exiled by the previous incarnation of him? We would normally get rulings on that, but we don't have it yet. I'm not sure. In fact, usually when a card references its own name, it means like exiled with this object. And when an object leaves the zone that's in, the game loses track of it. So usually that would be no. And
you can only do that until you can only get that 2-mana discount until end of turn.
Yeah, well, so I'm seeing you'll be stocking up on spells this way. You'll be saving this for like instant speed. I'll throw another thing into my special pile. But then you'll only do this right when you're about to cast one of those spells. And that should be fine. I think that's a fun set of mechanics to work with. But he doesn't have ward. He doesn't have protection. He doesn't have hexproof. You'll want him to have those things. Otherwise, he will die. And you'll lose the whole stack of cards, the house of cards that we were building. I'm pretty sure. Because other cards that do similar things say that you put a type of a counter on them. And then you can cast cards that have a counter on them. Or they'll say cards exiled by a card named and then named this. So I'm pretty sure the answer is that your house of cards falls apart if he dies.
But maybe not, so keep an eye on the news for this one.
Double check. There will probably be a ruling down here in like 2 weeks. And I guess the last thing about him is, so how good is he actually? How cool is he? I think that he has a lot going for him, except for the problem that I keep bringing up, which is, how does he actually win the game? He doesn't. There's no built-in way for him to reasonably end a game within the foreseeable future, before everyone gets hungry and tired and wants to go to bed and leave and go get some pizza or something. So, once again, if you're going to build this guy, please, please, please put ways in the 99, lots of them, of killing your opponents.
And I'm not going to come up with any fake lore for him because I'm too thirsty.
Okay. Okay. I was going to say, here's one that you might want to try putting in the 99, Blind Obedience. So that all of your spells can be overcasted by 1 white in order to drain your opponent's life. That will synergize really good with him. Just, do a lot of things that will hurt your opponents.
Get your closers.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know what else will
your
be your
major
closers.
arcana, if you will.
Yes. Just keep that in mind. Because he doesn't lend himself to a finisher, I want to put him in cool. Which means there's only 2 legendary creatures in this set that I think aren't particularly good commanders and are better in the 99, or that are only pretty good in the 99 and not excellent. So this one is definitely kind of borderline unquestionable. This one's one of the worst as a commander. Almost everybody else has some real potential as commanders.
And overall, this has been a pretty exciting set, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we then recap kind of where we're at with the rest of these, and I'm not turning off my ad block, and I found that I don't have to. A lot of these are more role players. They're good in the pre-con, but, not going to be that great outside of it, things like that. So the Final Fantasy VI deck has the most legendary creatures, but because of that, there's more
There's a
misses.
bit more of a spread.
Absolutely. Final Fantasy VII, everybody's the most popular one.
Oh dear lord, I love Final Fantasy VII as well, but I do think that we collectively need to move on from it. It's like, come on, can we not be dragged into this one particular... Like, I love it too, but there's a lot of other things out there to appreciate, like, spoiler alert, how the final boss of Final Fantasy V is an evil tree. Come on.
Like Wispy Woods in Kirby.
I'd take Wispy Woods over X-Death any day. For one thing, X-Death, name's stupid.
X-Death.
That's
Great.
His name.
Wonderful.
And it is stupid.
Okay.
I do like Final Fantasy V, but the final boss has a stupid name.
Mm-hmm. So 7 here, though, we've still got a number of bangers. And Cloud, I knocked him down a little bit here, but honestly, he's still great. Anything in this tier still has a lot of potential. It just may not be that unusual, that unique, that creative or something. So
anything above yellow is a great choice.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. That this is maybe the first game ever to get a remake that is 3 games. That
is bonkers.
Especially
frankly.
Since I don't think that they announced that. I don't
think that was I don't think that's what they were planning initially, but
then
they decided that that's what had to happen. I don't know.
What I'm saying is that when the first part of the remake came out, a lot of people didn't know that it's basically just part 1 of 3.
And I'm pretty sure people got upset about that, and frankly, I can't blame them. Final Fantasy VII came on like 3 discs, and I know that it was the PS1, and the game's huge, okay?
You know what they did? They made
it bigger!
They did a Hobbit to it, that they turned one book that is shorter than the others into 3 long movies. They milked it.
I do not think they needed to do that. Like I said, the first Final Fantasy VII was already pretty long. Mm-hmm. Stretching it into 3 games just seems like torture.
And yet, I've heard almost exclusively positive reviews. People seem to like it. So, I don't know, maybe...
I'd have some questions about how many of those people were already way too into Final Fantasy VII.
Look, at a certain point here, I'm not going to yuck people's yum. It is popular for a reason because it's good.
It is good. It is popular for a reason.
And the commander deck based on it has
I
some
wish we
highs
could
and some
focus.
lows.
I wish we could, maybe not focus on it quite as much, please.
Oh, right. So we've got part 1 and 2 of the Final Fantasy Remake so far, and Final Fantasy Remake part 3, I don't believe is going to be out for a little while, and until it is, people will not be able to stop focusing on 7.
They haven't been able to stop focusing on 7 since it came out!
Yeah, pretty much. And just to take another quick look back here at, as well, the Final Fantasy X Commander deck, another one where I didn't feel like there were any that were entirely lame. Even some of the less interesting abilities were still useful and didn't cost a lot of mana, so they all have their kind of utility. None of them suck, So, overall, this whole product, I think, is great.
It's looking good.
From the commander decks to the main set, I think the Final Fantasy set is one of the best products designed by Wizards of the Coast ever, as an homage, as a collection of cards that work well together. Really, the only criticism that I can make is that it's so expensive.
Yeah, but I also have a feeling that at least some of that is... I have a feeling at least some of that is due to outside forces, maybe?
Well...
Without getting too far into it?
I don't know. I mean...
I think that's partly it, but probably not all of it.
Hard to say, but, like, for instance...
Not to mention anticipated rollout. I mean, I want some of these cards. I'm definitely going to be buying some of this set. And not just because... I mean, I like Magic the Gathering, but Magic the Gathering plus Final Fantasy equals, yes please, in my mouth, om nom nom.
So, like, normal commander decks, historically, have been $35, more recently, a lot of times $40. This commander deck I'm seeing places like Amazon and TCG Player for more like $80.
Oof, that hurts.
And there is a collector's edition one that's significantly higher than that.
Oh, hell no.
Where, like, everything's foil or something. Which I don't know why. The foiling process is not reliable enough to be that excited about a foil one, other than it's in more limited quantity. So this deck was like 80. This deck, I believe, was like 140.
Because it's Final Fantasy VII.
Surprisingly, this one was also nearly 140.
Wow. I thought people were a bit more mixed on Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, but I don't know why exactly, and this one, I believe, was going around 100. So you put those together, yeah, so the least popular one in terms of pre-order prices is the Final Fantasy VI.
Huh.
Yeah, but put them together, and we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4... maybe like $500 nearly for all 4 of them.
Well, they're going to give it a little bit of a discount, so it's easier to sell all 4 at once.
Right, so on Amazon...
kind of a 4-in-1 deal.
On Amazon, I found them for about like $440. Want to guess how much I paid for them?
I'm afraid to ask.
$350. That was the best price that I could find anywhere. And it was at my local game store. Always check your local game stores.
Yes.
Always buy local whenever you can. Even if it costs a little more, just think of that as the tip.
Check the locals first. Then you give up and go to Amazon or whatever.
Yeah, and honestly, I've had to give up and go to Amazon a handful of times in the past because the local store didn't get enough of a quantity, and that's not necessarily their fault. Or because of low quantity, sometimes they've had to hike up the prices. And different stores are going to give you different prices, and we live in a city that has enough options that we can really shop around a bit. I did, and $350 for all 4 of them was the best price that I could find.
Also, be sure to ask about special orders and stuff. I mean, for Magic for trading card products, it can be pretty tricky because they have to work with a whole nother. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
As somebody who's worked in multiple game stores, it's a whole thing. You may not get a solid answer, but you might get an answer.
And yeah, keep in mind that, how much people are paying for the entire commander deck here. If it was like $100, half of that is Emmet Selk. No, that's crazy.
That is
Don't
that's
pay
nuts.
pre-order prices for singles. Don't do it. They're always going to be inflated. The only reason why you do this is if money is no option and you just want to make sure that you get one no matter the cost. But don't, because they'll be available, and 90% of the cards that you want, 90% of the cards will probably drop in value, probably a lot, but 10% are going to stay the same or even go up. So, something to watch out for.
Hype is fun, but don't let it overcloud. But don't let it overcloud your judgment, okay?
Yeah, like
Stay
what
icy.
the heck? Okay. And this is the collector's version of it, so that's gonna be a little more expensive. The collector's booster boxes are like $600. Yeah. No, I'm not getting one of those. I'm not getting any of that.
Just
I'm
thinking
gonna stay
about
away
that-
from all the collector stuff, which is a shame.
Just thinking about that price is giving me heartburn.
Yeah. I mean, just because one more thing, Through the Ages is a series of reprints that they are doing. These are all existing cards like Laboratory Maniac, Diabolic Intent, and they are using existing Final Fantasy art that was either concept art or advertising art. Like, this is from one of the famous cutscenes, of course. We got some concept art here, more concept art for Final Fantasy IV, and they're Timna the Weaver, one of the most popular commanders, especially in CEDH. Najila, that's a CEDH commander. Joda, we just got reprinted as SpongeBob. Thrasios is Titus, and Thrasios is one of the most popular. Hold on, look here. Yeah, you can normally get Thrasios for $22 or something like that. So just a huge number of really high value reprints in this Through the Ages, and I believe you only get these in collector boosters. So this has massively inflated the value and price, both ends, the expected value and the expected cost of collector boosters through the roof. And there's just so many good things in here, honestly, even if this art is the sketchiest and kind of weirdest looking out of all of them.
Hi, Bart's.
But Winoda's a really good CEDH commander. There's so many good things here. So it'll be up to you to decide how much you want to budget for these kind of things. But I would say if you can find a good price on the Final Fantasy products, the products themselves are good. Just don't pay pre-order prices for singles.
It's good product, but don't overdo it.
Yep. So with that, I think we ought to wrap it up.
I think we're good here.
So that is going to conclude all the Final Fantasy Commander deck legendary creatures ranked on tier lists.
I had so much fun totally slandering the Final Fantasy XIV crew. I'm sorry if I upset you, but I had fun with this, and I hope you did too. Comment below if you thought it was funny.
Also,
or if I accidentally got any right.
Also, of course, we're coming back when the full set is spoiled to look at the main set commanders. There are going to be so many. We'll probably have to break it up into multiple episodes for that too. But look forward to that too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yep. See you next time, everybody. Bye.